Whatever you like.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 5:30 on April the 3rd. I would like to make a motion to open the Board of Architectural Review meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. The first applicant, the Malloys, if you'd like to come forward and tell us what developments you've all made and how we can progress with this. Hello again.
Good evening. Hi. So we did everything requested. I have two sets of plans for both sides can see.
Because basically the fencing we weren't so happy with, and so you came up with a plan of aggressive planting, hide the fence. You weren't able to come to the last meeting, I believe. So we discussed it, and our consensus was that the aggressive planting plan wouldn't be enough to hide the fence. We couldn't, it's an iffy thing. We couldn't quite rely on that. So we're still in a quandary about it, about this fence, and about if there was any other options about the fence that you had considered apart from the aggressive planting.
So we do have, I have photographs to show you that there's shrubs mostly all around the outside of the fence. This is on the drawing, showing you the line down here, pretty much all the way around. I'm standing right here to take this picture, and I had to go up in between some shrubs to get up here. There's basically shrubs everywhere, and then this is hidden by the rock wall. So it's not like it's seen from other properties because of the existing. Here's a better picture of the shrubbery that exists right now. Back here, this just needs to be cleaned up. They stopped working on it.
Right.
And then this is where we were proposing plantings of, I thought it would be nice to do some grasses and things like that so that it's not, that it can be mowed and the invasive material managed a little bit better, because there is a lot of invasive material all the way around
Really?
the site. Yep.
Welcome to Tuxedo.
It's all the way around. So I thought something that could be mowed, as well as vines that would tumble over the fence would help hide it. And they would be the same vines that we went over for the front of the fence. But here are pictures of the mowable plantings. But as you know, you can keep the big blue stem and little blue stem. They can all be maintained, kept all winter long, and it would be higher than the fence. And also some of the Joe Pye weed, they get really tall too. They get like 8 feet tall. So the only time it would be open would be right about now, but then it's pretty much shrubs all the way around. There's not, with unfortunately a lot of invasives, but I wanted something that she could mow to try to help maintain it better.
Right.
I see one note here that says gate colored. Oh, gate colors match front door, gate, fence color gray. Yeah, right. So that you have yet to.
We have chips. Well, we have, we did get some chips.
That's the door of the house.
Yes, right. So these are, here is the, here we go. This is the fence color, and then this is the house color. And then
So the fence is the gray or? Oh, that one, yeah. right. And then that's
So those are the two changes.
which would take down the impact significantly.
It does take down the impact a lot. It helps it blend into the, as you can see, the natural material all the way around. Unfortunately, it's invasive a lot of it's invasive natural material, but, and I'm hoping that the meadow grasses could maybe keep, well, we could talk about like trying to take out some of the barberry, mow that down and let the meadow grasses start making their way in.
So, I mean, but let me share my thoughts, and then my colleagues will have opinions as well. It's just we're kind of, you know, the fence was, you know, built, without, you know, the authorization. So that's, you know, one strike down, and then the fence, the style of fence is not quite what we would expect. So it's 2 strikes down. So we're trying to, climb out of this quandary. I personally am still not convinced. I love the aggressive planting plan, and I was just wondering if there was an easier alternative that's not prohibitively costly. And for example, just like with the black wire that, you know, that would be kind of invisible, wouldn't stick out so much and function well, that keeping your dog in. And when the vegetation does get thin in parts or something, it's not such a problem that there's the fence visible. So that would be my suggestion. I think there's somebody else had another suggestion about a type of fence.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I feel probably there was a message, someone said that there were 2 people who thought the fence was okay. I think there's one, and that's me. But I have no problem with the fence. I recognize that it was out of order in terms of when it was built, how it was built, et cetera, et cetera. As I said, when you first came and Paolo was sharing, I said, I would file this under pick my battles. And from where I sit, the planting and the staining, I wasn't aware that you were planning on staining, would be sufficient. That said, I recognize that my fellow board members feel quite differently from the way I do. And so I think Christopher's solution strikes me as one very good one and cost effective, just to do some kind of simple, what were you thinking? What material?
It's the black wire that's often used.
Just deer netting, like plastic.
Well, not that it's the strong wire that just disappears. You know, it doesn't impede your vision, which is very Tuxedo Park to not have the barriers between properties, so that, you know, your garden carries on to the borrowed views of the natural landscape and other people's gardens and things. And so there isn't this, you know, separation of church and state and of something that's quite beautiful behind you. I mean, there are invasives, but does have that. And so one sees that, one doesn't see it so much around because it's kind of invisible. It hides away. Whereas, you know, whereas this one is, you know, is quite visible. Certainly when you're up above on Circuit Road looking down, it's quite.
So I mean, I think that's a very good suggestion. I think it probably would be cost effective. I mean,
Would she be able to leave the posts and then do
sure, right?
wire
I
between?
think that was the thought. I mean, when
That would
Paola first
help.
was chairing the meeting and saying, I think that, and all 2 of you as well felt the posts in an effort not to throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of expense and everything, leave the posts and either do something like what Christopher is talking about. And then he was referring to another thought. I mean, there are, you know, by the yard, you can get them at any home improvement place, just simple picket fences of various kinds that would have the vertical that I think Stephanie and Molly were more drawn to. And I know Paola was when she was running the meeting. I mean, so to the extent that you want a separation of church and state, that you want that definition,
Right.
maybe that's a good solution. You can keep the post. That was the main expense of the outlay, and just use something vertical like that. I do happen to love the idea of the invisible black wire, and I'm sure that probably is at least as cheap as.
Well, the other option is, you know, further down the road, the Santiani property, they have, and then the Emily Post cottage has that sort of picket fence thing, which is, again, an exception. It's not the rule here, but in your neck of the woods where there is a lot of houses together, then it's it's more appropriate as opposed to a house in the middle of nowhere. They're not painted white, but painted green.
Painted just as you were planning them, because that would be great. And a gray fence is very invisible. But, I think there's a lot of precedent. It is, it's a rather fancy cottage, but it is a cottage. And I think that would be very cottage-like.
Right.
And you can get ones that are either, come at a point, so that they are weatherproof, with more or less falderall. They have some. I saw one on, East Lake Stable Road. There's a little cottage with one that has almost the suggestion of something very, very poor man's Gothic, kind of like, which might be pretty too, to the extent you want more detail.
What do you thought? Do you think?
Yeah, I'm more drawn to the vertical and more traditional styles. I think we said that in the first meeting, using the posts and just kind of redoing the slats and the interior, or doing something more invisible, because you have those beautiful rock formations. You have a lot of gorgeous landscaping there, and to keep the dog safe, which I think was the goal with this, right? To adopt again. And that would kind of offer you a lot of coverage too, without doing anything, visually. And the color that you said for the house, is that did you say that's the front door, or is that the color? Because I know last time we were talking about potentially painting the brown kind of Tudor elements of the house. So is that that color?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Slightly darker of the two, right?
Yes, this is the darker, no, this is,
The darker is the fence, right? And then the lighter is the cottage.
The one you're choosing for the fence is especially handsome. It's almost more handsome than the other.
because this is more of a stain and
It's a
this is more-
stain.
That's nice, because it is a mottled effect. It's not so monochrome. Yeah. And so that so it disappears more. So it's,
Just a slightly meatier tone.
but we love the planting plan. That's fantastic. I mean, that is great. And so that with that type of thing, so we winning combination.
So I would be in favor of the compromise of having an invisible fence, although generally I love the quality of the house so much. I would love to have an equal quality fence around it. I'm not totally convinced by the plantings. Obviously, I'm really in favor of anything that's native. I know that these are a dear favorite. They will eat those almost immediately. They're fantastic, and I have
Yeah.
them, but they need to be almost fenced separately.
But that's the grasses, they won't eat, but yeah.
Yeah, and then I was a little confused about having it long, but also mowing it.
Yeah,
So
you mow it
that-
once a year, right
Right.
around now, to
Right.
let it grow back up.
And then there was a note about the native honeysuckle to disguise the fence. I use that. And I love it obviously for the hummingbirds, but it can be really good. Blossom very well in the shade, and there's quite a lot of shade trees. It really needs it like full sun to keep blossoming to the frost.
I think there is some areas that
Right,
are.
some
full sun.
areas, right.
So it would be, like that's
Yeah.
something that would be site specific.
I mean, I like it. I don't think it'd be enough to cover the current fence.
But if she chose the see-through fence, then it wouldn't be as necessary to
Exactly.
cover.
Right. It wouldn't. Yeah. Do we have anyone in the audience that has any comments? On Zoom, I think Bunny Boy has his hand up. If you'd like to identify yourself and to share your comments. I believe you're still muted.
Hi, it's Claudia Hanlon. How is everybody?
We're well. Good evening.
You know, the kids named my phone many years ago.
We'll let you off.
You know who it is. I just wanted to point out that from our house, we have a big view of the house and the back end of the property, actually the whole house. So I just want to remind that it's not just the street side view, but it's also from below. Everything is visible.
She's here.
So we're talking about the Malloy's property on Stable Road.
Oh, okay, sorry, we haven't moved on to,
Oh, yeah, no, we're not. Yeah. So, yeah.
okay, never mind, hand
No,
down, but you know who Bunny Boy is.
You
That's
bounce
my comment for
bounce
later.
back later.
Sorry.
New hand from this
Tinker's hand.
subject.
And Tinker Shaw, would you like to share your comments?
Yes, I just had one comment when you were saying something about these visible fences. This one is really not visible from anywhere. The only place you see this would be from the driveway looking up, right? Who else would see the fence in the back?
The only time I've really seen the fence, I didn't go on the site visit, was from Circuit Road. When you're walking on Circuit Road looking down, you see the whole thing, and it's quite
In winter.
quite visible in winter.
Just when there's no foliage. No.
The idea would be that for the grasses to remain in the winter. So there would be a short time, like right now, you would see it until everything.
Right. But I
Right.
mean, during the rest of the seasons, you wouldn't even see anything because there are lots of Norway maples on that slope.
Yeah,
So you
there's a
wouldn't
lot.
see it at all.
Lots of invasive stuff.
And some good things too. Some chestnut oaks.
Yes, chestnut.
So we've heard everybody else's thoughts. What are your
I love my
thoughts?
fence.
So these compromises, these other options,
Not ideal.
Would it be worth, our seeing some section of the fence stained just to see what kind of a difference that makes?
Some of it is already stained.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Would that be helpful?
but yeah, if you guys want to go take another look, of course.
I don't know if Tinka has another question or she didn't know how to put her hand down. She wanted to ask.
Tinker, did you have another question?
No, I have to lower my hand.
Okay.
I'll do it for you.
No, I mean, it's just, generally it's, I just feel awkward that, that we, as I say, 2 strikes down. If we 1 strike down, it would, be an easier thing to move forward. But with the 2 strikes down, it's
Right, but there was a structure there before. There was.
What was the previous fence?
We don't have pictures of it, do we?
No, I don't have it because
I have them like deep in my archive of photos.
Do you remember the materials though? Or-
No, I don't know what
It was like
It was dilapidated.
Right.
So, and I apologize. I know I was supposed to ask for permission prior. I was not aware of that. So I wasn't trying to break any rules.
Sure.
And just really trying to improve on the property.
right. Yeah, no, we're sympathetic to that and we appreciate it. And it's just the start of, I mean, look at me, the way I dress. I love modernism, and it's a dramatic modern thing. It's just, if it was in a separate area, it would be absolutely fine. But in that sort of historic little area, it just jars a little bit. That's my thought. So, so I would be a no on that. It sounds like Rob would be a yes.
I think I'd also have to be a no, partly because it's in such a beautiful park and conservation area, and I would not love for someone else to say, "Oh, I really want this fence." I think it's quite a clash with the existing house. So I think I think it's not very fine quality either. The house is of a higher quality than the fence. So I think I would go with the compromise that Christopher proposed. I think it's a fair compromise.
I would agree. I would go with the compromise. I think the plantings wouldn't be enough to totally disguise the fence, but keeping the kind of verticals and staining them the color that you've selected, which I think we're all in favor of, would be a good thing.
Are you, would she can keep like the gate, a gate like this? If
I
she
think
chose to,
personally, I think the gate is lovely.
Yeah, no, that's,
really
that aspect
that would
is,
make it look very nice,
Is-
inviting.
yeah, no, that's a lovely aspect, and that's in sync with the, and it's welcoming, and it's yeah, it's
And I
very
think
nice.
all of the other aspects are completely fine. You know, all of the
The generator.
all of the
Oh, yeah, no,
that you're
that-
building. I think that's all 100% approved, isn't it? Well, I don't know. Is
Well, we
it-
haven't voted on it yet, so
Okay, sorry.
but yeah, well, I
don't
think,
think
we we
anyone
don't have it,
has.
we,
No,
we
right.
appreciate all that, and, the hiding of things, and the unsightly things, and everything looks good, it's just that, just that style of fence is just a little bit too jarring for the site. So and we could vote on it, but it would be a no, or if you'd like to think about it and come back, and then and then we could
Yeah, I think we think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask, is it anything to do with the height of the fence? Is that, if it was lower? I'm just curious.
No, I mean, it's just I'll answer your question, then we have a comment. It's
I have a picture of the old fence.
Oh, do you, Mom?
oh,
Oh, perfect.
love moms.
Access to the archive.
It's not a great picture, but you could see it's a dilapidated on the ground fence.
Where is it?
Is it like a
This
deer
dark,
fence?
this dark, that
But that's
looks like a
exactly what-
wire,
That's the compromise that you were offering, right?
and it's rusted and corroded, and my daughter just tried to improve on the area. And she,
Yeah,
and I think the structure she improved upon is architecturally beautiful for the home, for stable
As do
court.
I.
I mean,
Yeah, no,
this was what she was looking at on the ground, all around.
right.
And it's rusted and quite dangerous that it was left like that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of, yeah, I mean, we were talking about that
Um,
before. No, thank you. We appreciate all this, it's a difficult task, and, but unfortunately, that's where we are with it. So,
I take some comfort on your behalf, in the thought that those posts has to have been the most expensive part of
Right.
the outlay. And if you can use that, I think we're all in favor of. Yeah. And I happen to think that this fence is handsome. I also think that the vertical that is being suggested, if you go that way, if you want the separation of church and state,
Right.
would also be very, very handsome. I think and especially with the gate, which has some of the vertical in it. So
when you drive out and you're going on the main road, and the right is Emily Post Cottage, you'll see the fence there, and you can see the other fence that, I think they're the same, of the cottage on East Lake Stable Road. Of
do
that.
you know where that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so to see those, and then also the further down Clubhouse Road on the left, when you bring down to see that as a more solid, sort of country picket fence type thing, as opposed to an invisible one. So,
Right.
but I think there's I think we're all comfortable with those, both those options, and if you can find it in your heart to choose one of those that will work and you're happy with, then we'll be all set.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. The Buckminsters will not be coming tonight, so we're on to the Rifkins.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello again.
Good to see you all.
Good to see you. Yeah, and meet you.
So Stephanie, Rinsa, and Molly Tinari.
Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you. So the first item then is the change in exterior paint color. I think you wanted to propose something.
Well, yes. So the Originally, what was approved was Nightfall and this sailcloth. Okay, those are the colors that were submitted. These were the renderings that were submitted. So the renderings that were submitted were, as close as you can do, sort of. But truthfully, what we had is we always had a white trim on it, and we had that 3D that we also had this white trim. And if I may be perfectly honest, sometimes when you're trying to get these packages together,
Yeah.
so this is actually the colors of my house. Okay, so it was the first white I could remember. So it was sailcloth. That's what went in. But the reality of it is, between looking at the stones that are from Hillburn granite, they're a little more silvery, a little more white. This just sticking with the original plan that was on the rendering felt appropriate. And also, we differed the color a little bit deeper. Because this was reading awfully blue against the granite. So this felt, much more in line with what the renderings were. So we're thrilled with it. And I think it looks amazing. But so that's kind of what it was. It's sort of a subtle thing from one to the other.
And the garage doors, but those are sailcloth.
No, they're not.
What are those?
It's Benjamin Moore chalk white.
No, the garage doors, they're significantly darker.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good point. Yeah. Sorry about that. That's the primer.
Well, I mean, first of all, everyone is just so thrilled about the project. It really is fantastic. And so, we're honing in on this with very eager eyes, because we're so happy about it and care so much about it that any change or something, we want to make sure that it goes in the right direction. So it's
What's the danger of building too beautiful a house? All eyes are on it, and it's a very, very public spot, from all angles, especially from the lake. But it really was. It was a triumph when you submitted it, and it's a triumph as built. I think a lot of us would have preferred a softer counterpoint to the dark. I mean, the white reads very, very sharp and does not help it to look like an older house, and which I think was part of the intention. But, I think it's such a success,
I'd invite you to come up and look at my house in Warwick with the cream. I know what this looks like, and I can see it against all the combinations. I feel this is stunning. I mean, I understand what you're saying about that kind of.
Well, especially on the lakefront, there's
Sure.
a lot of fenestration, and
Yep.
it reads really bright.
Yep.
But, go ahead. No, I mean, I can't imagine. It's a beautiful house. It came together really well. I can't imagine, even if what was approved was different, and probably for good reason, I can't imagine calling it into question now. I mean, you presumably bought all of these windows that were pre-painted with the Muntins and everything. I mean, that you couldn't possibly reapproach it.
It would be a total.
So just nobody's suggesting that. I think it's more just a question of, in principle and moving forward.
Totally
like,
get it.
in the future.
Yep.
It's actually not a small question.
Sure.
People like to minimize it, but
No, it totally makes a big
it
difference.
probably wouldn't have been if you had said, can we paint it a flat, bright white?
Right.
Probably the board would have offered different advice at the outset.
And totally interesting too, because it's at this, it's a couple of years down the road and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, we've got renderings that show one thing that we submitted, and then we've got the actual submission. So, it's I get how it gets to this point.
Yeah.
my only other thought was that it's for what it's worth is that you were the owners and you were the architect. This is the house that Jack built. You're so proud of it, and I'm it's not my house at all, but as a nosy neighbor thinking, I'd love to see. That was the house that was renovated, and with this color, it would look more that it's an old house and renovated as opposed to a fabulous creation that you've all done, which obviously you're very proud of. So that was just my thought. But as it's it is splitting hairs, and it in my opinion this would be an improvement. But if it's a huge effort and it's something that you don't want, it's your home, and then. It's a subtle difference, and the overall is a win. So,
and I think from the street side, this thing works beautifully. From the street side, for some reason, there's something about the distribution of the windows and everything there's actually more of the dark counterpoint to it. It's the lakeside that's a little bit, it screams out the white. On the street side, it is stunning. And the because you've accentuated the counterpoint, the effect is really positive. So I think it's funny, like on the street side, I think it actually is an improvement in a way.
Interesting. It does read differently. I
Or
can
it
see
could be
that.
seen as an improvement on the street side. But
Any comments or thoughts?
Well, I'm new to it. I'm immediately drawn to this as my absolute favorite. I thought when I first saw it, I thought fantastic what they're doing, so chic and subtle. And this is I'm not going to vote against it because it doesn't seem that one probably should insist. But personally, I think this is more tasteful.
Stephanie and I weren't here for the originals. I think the house is incredible. I've loved watching it be built. I think the materials and the quality of the project is, something that, is just so beautiful in the park. I actually, I drive around the lake and knowing this was coming, I was just taking a peek at things. There's quite a bit of white lakefront, fully white houses. So actually, I think that it looks very sharp. It certainly looks more modern with the deeper hue on the house and the lighter white on the windows, but I think it's just beautiful.
Thank you.
So I really love how it turned out.
Thanks.
I mean, it's such a win that it feels crazy to be even having this conversation. But just to clarify, so I know, it really is just a matter of, in the future, because part of what this board has to do is think about protocols and the future and precedent. So that's partly why we're having this discussion. It is a breathtaking house. It is a breathtaking enhancement to the village. No two ways about it. And so please don't take anything amiss in what's being discussed.
So I think that's black and white, that issue. So we'll resolve that. So the next thing is the landscaping plan review, the changes in the landscaping. Andrea.
Well, the
Thank
original
you.
landscaping that was proposed was very
Chair.
simplistic. And I think it was everyone's hope to make the house look like it's been there a long time and make it very natural and
Which the trees really help you with. That's one
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
I mean, just watching the way you were able to put together a house with leaving all those trees intact, that really does look like it was always does.
yeah, and we also, because it is a busy sort of intersection, it was important to create a sense of privacy to make the house get that peekaboo and enjoy the architecture, but also provide them some privacy from the inside of the house, because again, it's like the intersection across the street, there's a decent amount of traffic. And so the idea with the walkway was to create this sinuous path of big pieces of bluestone, and then use some, because you have this wonderful ridge outcropping on this side, I wanted to create that sort of sense of almost like a moorish kind of, that the house sort of sprung out of some natural ground. So we were going to use some Hilburn granite that Christian from Legacy sets aside certain boulders, and they're just thrown to the side and they weather and they get lichens. And so we're going to use some of those to create these sort of rounded slight mounds where we were going to use 3 sugar time crab apples to create again a little bit of movement to the landscape, and then have the walkway come through. It's not, the trees are then pulled out towards the driveway, giving them a sense of privacy from the street, but again, very low landscaping. We have some grounded evergreens with some cloud boxwood. There's some utility areas over here, so I'm using some compact oriental spruce, and we have a Nuka false cypress to sort of anchor the house on the one side and provide a little privacy from the porch for them. But again, the plantings would be low grasses and alliums and penstemons and ferns, with in shadier areas, some Lenten rose, creeping phlox. So again, just this soft, really low kind of landscape. And then as you come across to the garage, I have a Vestigia Perodia to sort of anchor the side entry, and then a little structure with a boxwood hedge and 3 standard hydrangeas. But then beyond, I created this sort of meadow of almost 95% natives. It's a lot of grasses.
Love that.
Well, if you look at my plant list, there's a lot of natives. So this whole area is just planted with monardas and echinaceas, rudbeckias, mountain mint. And then we have this little walkway that comes down. We added a little screening for the neighbor with some green giants. There's a Acadono cherry sort of anchoring the garage area. And then they have a little kitchen garden that we're setting up below the wall. So it gets great exposure, but you're not going to see it at all from the street.
So this area, the kitchen garden is a fabulous addition. The stone wall behind it, sort of lower down, impinging on the border, within the borderline.
You mean the board, this?
Yes, yeah,
existing
between the
stone
neighbors,
wall?
yeah. So
We sort of picked it up where the stone wall ends. So it sort of anchors into there. And I had to split the grade because the grade's rolling not only obviously downhill, but it's rolling towards the house. The wall actually steps down at the base, the foundation of the wall. So I sort of had to work to try to hide that foundation.
that wall, the dividing wall between the neighbors, is that now a retaining wall in that you've put in, you've sort of made this area that used to be a slope? Is it turned into a retaining wall, or is that, you know, this is the problem of building right on the property line?
It is retaining because the slope was, you know, too steep to flatten that area out. So there is, you know, we did use on-site boulders and it is retaining, but it's not impeding this line at all. We didn't change the grade along the property line at all.
Because I think the legal aspect is nothing can be done in 2 feet of the wall. Is that correct?
I leave that to John to make the building inspector determination, but yes, there is usually a requirement with respect to structures approaching the boundaries of property.
And any
Retaining
wall,
walls might not be one of them, though.
no wall is considered a fence, and under that section of the code 100-18, I believe, it's supposed to be 2 feet off of a property line and 5 feet off a road.
Where could you just show us where the property line is right there?
The property line is here and the retaining wall is actually on the neighbor's property.
Well, there's 2 walls. There's a wall that the neighbor owns, which is parallel to the house roughly. And then there's the question of the boulder wall that's parallel with the lake, I guess, or parallel.
Is it impossible to dismantle that one? So that because of the slope, you can't come in 2 feet and still hold the
No, we could
slope?
we could curve it in a little bit.
Oh, you
so
could.
it doesn't connect.
Well,
Yeah.
that seems like an
I think that-
incredible
yeah.
solution.
Mhm.
Then
We can do that.
Because otherwise we'd have to go through zoning and
Well, that is the issue. I just
you
want
would
to
require
know,
BZA. right?
make it sound easy, but it's required to have 2 feet, you know, with a fence or a wall. This is retaining soil. And of course, the neighbor has expressed his concerns to me about any added soil
Mhm.
on his wall.
Yeah, no, we can certainly curve that corner because it's dying into the grade there anyway.
Oh,
It's not
okay.
starting at zero.
Oh, brilliant.
It's not like it starts and it's 4 feet right away.
That's what
It's,
I was-
you know,
yeah,
no,
okay.
we can curve it out and die it into the slope.
Can we
So-
do that? Is it?
You know,
My issue-
Andrea, my apologies, because
Yeah.
this was done beforehand, but I've been talking to Chris DeHaan, the builder, about that already. I've talked to Todd about it as well. We didn't get to any resolution, but I've been talking about tapering that back.
Oh, okay, great. So that
Fantastic.
seems
Then, yeah, that seems to be
pretty sensible.
because we don't want to compromise the kitchen garden. I mean, that's a great addition.
The only other height, I'm sorry, I didn't notice it till today, but the fence around the kitchen garden, I think you have it is it 7 or 8 feet?
6.
Okay, one of the ones I saw, I think, was higher than 6.
And 6 is okay as long as you're away from the road.
6 feet on the side in the rear yard, which is where this is, so no taller than 6.
Yeah, no, it's 6. The edge of the kitchen garden is on the outside, and we used thin Hilburn granite, and that's going to retain it. So,
As long as the fence is 6 feet or less, then no problem.
and then we're just enhancing a little bit along the street. There's a beautiful Japanese maple that's opposite the porch, and we're going to add some American hollies for screening, and then just a lot of ground covers, lots of ferns, lots of carex grasses. There's some Japanese forest grass. There's even some Comptonia that I added. So, I tried to use a lot of natives. The ridge here is like riddled with tree stumps and forsythia. So we're cleaning that all out and again, using Sparabolus and Monarda and ironweed and masses. So it'll highlight the rock more and create beautiful native drifts. And then the back here, which has been a mown slope, we're going to replace with a lot of ground covers. I have Aronia, the ground hug, the really low one we're going to use Amsonia, Itea. So a lot of natives, Christmas ferns and drifts as you get closer towards the more shadier side, because this is a little bit more.
I don't know IT.
Virginia sweet spire.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great suckering
Yeah.
plant.
Yeah, that's
So
lovely.
yeah, so it
Great.
can hold that
Delightful.
slope because it is, it's a maintenance
Sure.
issue, and it's
They must have a
wanna get
solid
rid of
root
them.
system.
yeah, no, they do.
And I noticed somewhere that it says phase 1. Is there a phase 2 of planting
Well,
or?
I mean, eventually we'll do more enhancements going down towards the lake.
Because we could want a riparian buffer. Please, pretty please. Okay, good. There's one only what it's fantastic. There's only one point that I want to make, which is it's a funny point. Butterfly bush. You see, it's fantastic. All the butterflies on it, and so it must be a good thing, but it's not. Because it's like, you have children. So, the analogy is you have your children and you have lovely meals. The food you prepare for yourselves, your children cannot eat it. The caterpillars cannot eat it. So they die. So the Rifkin dynasty will just be cut off, as far as the butterfly is concerned.
So we just.
I only had one butterfly bush. I'll take it out.
Okay.
I don't want to kill the Rifkins.
But it's fascinating that, it's
yeah.
an argument that we have a lot because how can it be bad? It's such but that's all it is. It's food for the adults.
So just
one part of the food
replace
chain.
the butterfly bush with the butterfly weed and we're all in business.
There you go. Ballerina, we'll put that
There's
in.
there's a lovely plant that you probably obviously know, Buckeye.
Mhm.
That
Brush
fla-
buckeye, yeah.
that,
Well, I use one over there.
right. I love them because they really flower in the shade beautifully, and they're for hummingbirds and for the bees. It's one of my favorite
Had a
things.
good
that I've
time
planted.
too.
Yeah. And kind of similar. I planted them together. I really enjoy that. So because I made a big point of trying to find other sources of nectar than the butterfly bushes.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of agastaceae. We have a lot of things that attract and.
I mean, it's almost all non-native. There are very few
Yeah.
Yeah.
departures.
The only other thought, if you'll indulge me, the other comment that I had, and maybe it's work in process, is the driveway. It's a tar macadam driveway. It's going to be tar and chip eventually, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah,
It's
I
just
thought
for
so. Yeah.
construction right now.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
You know,
that's great.
Yeah.
Have
Oh,
some
good.
machinery and stuff. So
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought so. Yeah. I just wanted.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So, do we have any other questions or from the audience? Please identify yourselves.
Alexa and Todd Newsy.
And you're
The
the
neighbors, we're the wall owner.
welcome.
Yeah.
Hi.
So, we can echo the support of the project and how beautiful it is and how beautiful the plantings and yard will be. Unfortunately, we have to take issue with even calling that wall a retainer wall because it's always been freestanding on both sides. There's never been anything packed up against it. Unfortunately, a few years ago, Furstein, the previous owner, did actually raise soil sneaky at the very top of the property, which at the time we discussed with John, which should never have been done, didn't respect the 2-foot setback. The property line is actually closer to the Rifkin's house than the wall. And so what has unfortunately happened is when they built the wall that's parallel to the lake and perpendicular to our wall, it then got filled like a sandbox. So all that fill came to the nearly or to the top of the wall. And so now what had been historically, our house was built in 1891, what had been a freestanding wall, never meant to be bearing anything back on either side, now has been filled on one side, which I imagine will pose significant issues going forward regarding fill.
It's on the property deed.
Regarding, yeah, I mean, it's on our, but it's like, I don't think anybody's contesting
Right.
our wall. We have the same exact stone walls, which we, whatever, when we did our home many years ago, when we purchased it, we redid everything, including like basically taking care, reconstructing or taking care of every wall on the property. So our concern would be, and I think everybody would share it, that the wall was not meant to hold back anything. It was freestanding.
Well, I think that's what my understanding is, that we're getting it back to the new wall is going to curve around beforehand within the legally accepted.
I'm talking about the wall that was constructed. The existing wall that's here was always a freestanding wall
Right.
with nothing on either side.
So Alexa, you're talking about where the courtyard is, if where John's or someone's.
I'm gonna point.
Oh, right there.
I'm gonna point to
Well, you're
this
talking about
section
the
here.
wall.
Right there, right.
Which has been
Right, so
backfilled.
now
I see.
that area was basically filled up like a sandbox, right?
So question, can this be mitigated with either buttresses or caissons?
What?
I would just really prefer that you.
On the part of the neighbor, I mean.
On their property, not, and have your wall.
Buttress, and how would you
Buttress
buttress
what?
the wall? Buttress what?
Well, it would have to come in on your property to support the weight, but.
I want to look at a buttress.
Okay.
Review.
And by the way, we have buttresses that are, I mean,
They hold our driveway.
they hold our driveway wall up. It's a lot to maintain them,
Right,
to be
right.
perfectly honest, which we have, because we don't want that wall collapsing. Like, we've meticulously sort of maintained our property. I don't actually know why it was ever allowed. Like,
But this predates the Rifkins, as you were saying, so.
no, it
Oh.
doesn't predate.
Oh.
It was.
I thought you said the previous neighbor put the.
No, only a very, very
Oh.
small portion.
Towards the roadside.
I mean, I watched as front loaders just dumped the dirt.
Subsequently now, during this.
So
Right.
that to the corner of the new boulders that are
Right.
labeled.
So that whole
existing wall.
area was near the bottom of the wall, and then it just,
That's been built up.
I watched, they just filled it up.
So how, I guess my question is, how could that be mitigated structurally?
I don't,
Or what are you, or then if not, what are you requesting?
I'm just requesting to respect a 2-foot distance from the property line.
So, but are you
Our
asking,
wall.
are you
doesn't fall
asking them
down,
to dig up everything and?
But I'm asking, why was it put down in the first place?
So is it possible to remove it?
I just have to say, I love you guys.
No, I know,
We didn't do this.
We're very good
So,
friends.
I mean, I have,
Like,
yeah,
And
exactly. I have a
when I
picture.
call John, I always say, I want to preface this.
Right. I
We're
have,
very good friends, our children go to school together, the whole thing, but it's just like,
We'll be the bad
in a
cops.
very friendly way.
so I have a picture of that area as we were getting started with the construction. So it's, October of 2021. So, and the fill or the grade, I should say, comes very close to the top of that wall in that area at that time. Not arguing with what happened, 15 years ago or 20 years ago. We've
So
owned the
was the
property
previous
since-
neighbor who put that back.
I don't know. We've owned the property since October of 2011, and we knew the previous owner for a couple of years. We didn't know them when they did whatever work they did.
That was only the top. That was
Oh,
only the top, and that's like, they clear cut all their trees and they put it up. on the
Right.
top.
So, but this is a picture of October 5th, 2021.
But can it just
Sorry,
be
I
dug
thought it
up?
was last
Can
night.
it just be dug? I mean, a shovel and get,
Yeah, well, no, we
I
can
mean,
just
it's
take
not,
this backhoe and just
it's not
peel it
even
back.
hard work.
It's a few feet of fill. It could be
I think it's
4 or
less.
5 feet.
Sure. Natural.
We're not talking about here.
You're
We're
talking
People are
about
cleaning
the
the leaves,
whole
it builds up, you know, it degrades into soil.
So you're saying it's a pretty easy fix?
I think it's
Oh,
very easy.
okay, well, that's what I wasn't,
So we'll just,
Only for the new boulder wall.
I worried that you were talking about where you'd poured concrete and you'd
Oh, no,
have to
no,
like
no.
deconstruct some built.
Not at all.
Okay,
It's-
so it
it's
doesn't
just-
actually matter who did it. It's just a matter of getting a shovel and getting
Yeah.
rid of it.
well, if it's that easy,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a hard thing.
I would, it'll take a small excavator, not a shovel.
Yeah.
It's
But they're gonna-
Still, it's
they're
a-
gonna need that anyway.
It's a few feet. You know.
To do all these other things,
Yes,
okay.
And
Oh.
to fix the wall now and that, the new boulder.
I think we
wall
might
to
just
decide it.
move that along if, you know, if it can be fixed.
Sure.
like
So,
that.
yeah, let's
It
get them all
doesn't
back
really
in.
matter who.
No.
So it seems that it's fixable, that we can,
I don't know.
no,
To be,
I'm
I
not
don't
sure
know.
if we're talking about the same exact thing,
oh,
but can I just point to this way here?
Mhm.
Where this wall came in, there's been dirt, it slopes down to this corner, but it's even higher. So that, this side of the wall, which the wall is at my head site, head level, my property line, it's filled to soil and then goes up from there.
Wow.
And that's new soil that is additional. Now, it could have been built up to some degree, and I'm sure it was over the years, but now it's holding up an awful lot.
now it's
And it's on our 1880 whatever property line. We have the same wall on the other side and then along the water, a retainer wall. It was not a retainer wall, it was a property division
It's
line.
just like a.
But I think it's not crazy difficult to dig it up.
So
to
this
go
is,
back to it.
this is right before construction started. Actually, if I zoom out, it was when we were starting to prep for digging the foundation, but it shows you that area. That's the wall
mhm.
right in here.
It's on the other side.
So
Mhm.
this rock here has to be pulled back,
Right.
taken out and tapered down to restore that area. But none of this was filled by us. So I just want to make sure we're talking about.
But is it
Same
worth,
thing.
regardless of who filled it, is it worth, given that we're at this juncture, just doing what you were suggesting, digging out taking a backfill sort of machine and taking out several feet of that soil? So
Personally, I'm petrified of that
really,
because what kind of damage is going to be done to the wall
Their
by
wall?
doing that process? Yeah, yeah. What's there now is stable. You know, I'm not an engineer and I'm not sure any engineer would know with any degree of certainty what's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, whether, you know, there's a problem or not a problem.
Mhm.
You know, so my concern is going and digging all of this out,
that you might further
that
compromise.
you would undermine a wall that's not undermined now.
Well, it seems that, you know, that it's not really our call here. It seems that you as friends and neighbors need to, you know, come to a legal solution to remedy this so that both sides are happy, that the wall's not compromised. It's not a retaining wall, it's a freestanding wall. And you know, you come to that resolution. So it's done. So whenever new neighbors come or houses are sold, there isn't a lingering problem like, you know, this needs to be rectified and in an unfriendly way. So I think that would be to throw it back at you guys to come to a solution that would be then is presented to us and we say, well, this is legal, this is acceptable, this is a fair compromise, everybody's happy, and then we can vote on it. Does that sound?
I want to show you, those are the boulders that are look like it's one boulder, all right? It's a stack of boulders, right? I'm sorry. That ties in. This is my wall. That, the existing wall. This is the boulder that's newly stacked on that side. So this is a 5-foot freestanding wall that is now holding back.
You can see, like you
You
can
see
actually
the
see
height?
that machine is right
And it's holding back
oh, right.
tons of
Mhm.
soil, okay? So again,
So you're
it's not a-
rather.
it is a retainer wall now.
So
Right.
Todd,
It's still
what
standing.
you're
But
asking
it's a
is for them
simple
to dig
I
legal
don't want
out.
it to be a
point, isn't
retainer
it?
wall in
Right,
the
you want
house.
them to dig,
I don't want to buttress in that.
but just,
Hiding
okay,
stone on
but
my
just to be
property.
clear, you're asking them to dig down
Well,
5.
I just want
Take,
to show you.
remove the soil that
This
was
is,
added.
Right,
this is
that's
the
your-
day that they were filling it. So you can see, can you see this existing wall?
Mhm.
And can you see where the machine is there?
Mhm.
And that's the day they were filling it. Or whatever, the person who
And all
filled
I'm
it
trying to do
did
is
it
avoid
unbeknownst to them.
Mhm.
The
So
wall
you can
cracking one day
And now
and
it's,
spilling over the soil. And the
So
hydraulic
that's the
pressure
request
of the
though, is to
water.
dig up 5 feet or whatever it would be at the
well,
top.
I think like unfortunately that makes the onus on us to be the bad guy.
Oh,
Like we are
I'm not
now
denying-
asking.
Well, I don't
to
think
have
It's
it
a legal
dug out.
protection for the homeowner.
But I think what we're saying is, why was it put there in the
And
first
if,
place?
if the retainer wall, which was built, is that height, see it from that height?
Right.
Okay, the soil was that level before those boulders were added and the soil was filled up,
Right.
okay?
yeah.
So I'm not saying Dan drove the backhoe, but someone did.
Right, no,
A lot of
it's-
soil
Well, can the
that I don't
builder
want
be
on my
asked?
I mean,
wall.
so
there's
like
no
I
cost
said-
for the Rifkins, if the builder is put that there, we could maybe be asked to dig it up.
So
The
can you see
contractor.
No, totally.
No.
Yeah, can I say,
And
since I've
here,
been on the property.
this is- The boulders are touching.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not, so taking a boulder
Last
out, and
July.
turning the other way, I'm not gonna be happy.
No, we understand the problem, and we all know, we were all in the park when there was the big wall along the Tuxedo Road, that problem that was leaning
The
and.
leaning, shut the road. Yeah.
Right, yeah, so we know that, walls, and, we want to find a remedy for this. So
I
Andrea,
just
what?
never saw 5 feet exposed of that wall
So-
on the Rifkin's property line. And there's an existing Norway spruce that's obviously hasn't been touched.
If you
And
look
if anything,
here-
we took soil away to make it back to the way it should have been.
So this is the wall.
But that's
this
on your
part-
side.
Yes, it is on my side, but can you see where that red machine is on the ground? There's not dirt near the top of that wall.
If the wall was
I
built up
understand
this
that
way,
some
there was
dirt
no
was pushed
soil.
against there because of when they built this boulder wall. I understand that.
But it's
But
not,
I'm saying,
this is
you didn't have
much higher.
5 feet of exposed wall on the Rifkin
but we
side.
certainly didn't have it filled the way it is now.
No, and I understand that. We're gonna rectify that, but
Right.
if you're saying that it was completely freestanding, 5 feet on your side, it wasn't
I
5
said
feet
it
on
was
your
built
side.
It was
originally as
probably
a
built up
freestanding
with
wall.
debris, so
But
like.
But that's like 100 years of debris, since your house was
No, I
built.
mean, I've seen like what a couple winters of debris, because we recently cleared our
So
side.
where your wall.
And I
leaning
think it's in
against it.
both of our interests that wall does not fall down.
And then
No, I agree.
Because
What's
then
the water
I
pressure
can
gonna be on that
promise you what will
corner,
happen if that wall
slope
falls
towards
down,
my
because we
land.
have spent
John,
a
is this-
tremendous amount of time on our property preventing erosion.
Solution.
because
Would
of the
make
way that
exactly,
our
yeah.
properties are
There was
sloped.
definitely some.
They go
site
straight down, so
Right,
what
they go
did,
down.
what
that's
they
the
go
old
down,
sandbox
what
we're
didn't
referring to.
happen
It's
that many
filled on
years
that
ago
side.
is
It's
if
my head, I'm
that
confused.
wall
I'm
falls
really
down,
uncomfortable with
everything that
are.
you have here is just gonna drain
What
down.
we need to do is just,
You
is just
have
hold
an
it.
idea?
The dirt,
What
do you
rocks,
suggest?
it'll create
But you're the legal
channels
expert.
out on our property.
Not for them, for the
which we
board.
sense like
They're
stress
almost
on.
that great. We have to stay just above it.
But if you
I
look
don't
at the
think-
grades, the water
Dig out for
flows perpendicular
15
to the
feet.
grade.
Aesthetics.
You can see the
Dig
grade
out.
lines
Well, let's-
going
let-
Can you give them some
parallel to-
help with your expertise?
Let's have one conversation going so we can all get on the same page and hopefully.
You have a fabulous idea tucked away.
I've got lots of ideas,
I
but I
think we
don't
all
want to
agree
share
that
them with
we're
anybody else right now. I've
change
litigated these
the-
cases
the
before in
boulder
this.
wall
Right, so it's a
connection, pull it away.
two-part thing.
Yeah.
You
We're gonna pull some of the soil away from the
How much?
wall.
So maybe
but it
15
won't-
feet
It's not
or-
gonna be 5 feet.
It's not, I mean, I think there's a way to establish where the grade was prior.
Yeah.
You know, we have contours, we have from the surveyors.
Okay.
So if you get it back to what it was,
Perfect.
would that be a happy compromise? I mean,
And I mean, but how do you?
Was
how do you
when though?
You're saying that it's not though.
No, I'm saying like, it can't be filled up because it's gonna probably push the wall down. I don't know what accommodations have been made for drainage.
no, certainly it's a wrong, it's a thing we have to undo. How far do we undo it? How much we
What
need
do-
to,
And so what do the rules dictate? Like, let's just
What did
2
we
feet,
say?
right? John, is it 2 feet?
Well, the setback is 2 feet from any wall. If there is anything structural, or any drainage needed, that should be included on the plan, with the new wall.
Would it make sense to say?
I would want the new soil removed from our wall with an appropriate setback. And I would want an assurance that the drainage and whatever is being built up, of however high goes, is secure in a manner.
So they have to
where
build
it's not gonna
parallel
end up
To where
back
though?
and
That's the
Just-
question that
I
I'm
don't know how-
unclear
I
on.
don't know, that's
Because
not-
we were
Well,
just
the
talking about
spruce tree
going
is-
basically up to the road.
Yeah, the spruce tree has been there for.
No, I think
you know,
what we should be talking about is say
So it's just this little section.
15 feet up from the retaining wall itself that you're bringing in 2 feet. So
Yeah.
just bring in 15 and do, graduate from like 5 feet down to 2 feet down to nothing. Just define your terms and let's solve this. I mean,
So I
You
think,
mentioned the earlier, because the earlier, that John was aware of, the earlier owner had flattened out land and cleared tree and packed up dirt against a section of the
Yeah,
wall
we know
against the
that's
road
not the
that's
case
much
here.
lower. That's not what we're really concerned about,
Right.
because that's a very low standing wall. What we're really concerned about is that newer corner and everything from the corner of the property down that is significant.
You
as
mean,
opposed
you
to
mean
less than.
up towards the road?
well, I think this is what I'd like to suggest is that we can vote to approve the,
We can go
the-
look at it, like it's right there.
right. We can approve now to do the paint colors and approve that. And we can, and then if you
subject to the
guys,
resolution.
you guys work out what the ideal scenario is for both of you, that's a win-win situation, you come back with us with specifics and then we can vote on it and it's all signed, sealed and delivered. Does that sound fair?
Can I just say one thing? Because maybe we can solve this right now. Todd, you're talking about, Alexa, you're talking about from here, tapering this down from here?
I just like, I don't know where this corresponds to
This is
this
a
area.
corner.
So like this area to a certain point. I mean, I called John on the day, right? John, I called you on the day and I said, I'm not sure what's going on because I'm watching the machines.
I think there's enough misunderstanding that I think we need to have a plan that is specific, that we
So I would
can.
put forth that we are not qualified to develop a plan. What we would like is that our wall is not compromised, that they're happy, that they're not overly burdened and taxed
Can we-
with doing something that's like ridiculously
Sorry to interrupt.
expensive.
Can we ask the building engineer to sort of come and broker a compromise, or is that not?
I think for liability reasons,
Okay.
we shouldn't be solving the problem.
So
Yeah, I mean,
I
so
think
like,
you guys
we
can-
want them to have what they want
Yeah.
without compromising our wall in
Tell
the
you if it's-
friendliest of ways.
So you're gonna do a carve out,
We just
right?
don't want soil against the wall, and we don't want rocks against the wall, and we want it back to at least what it was.
I think
Right,
we
so
all
I
agree.
have
we should
that
do that.
picture
Okay.
from before the construction started.
And what we would need is specifics. We would need how much soil, how, and the onus is.
Besides, I can like look through
2021,
my, I can
before
look through my
anything needs to
camera
start.
roll,
That's
but, and
that
I can.
spot.
Well, the
show
onus
you-
is on
I know the problem. is that
Rifkin. So the onus is on the Rifkins to come forward with a new proposal on the landscaping plan, and then we can vote for it. But what we can do now, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen,
Please.
could we please just have one conversation going? What we want to do is for you to come back with us with a proposal you're both happy with, or a compromise, or whatever it is, with specifics, so that we can vote on it and say yes, and it's the problem is solved. I don't think we can resolve it right now because it's all too many variables and misunderstandings. So that's what we'd like to do. What we can do is what can we vote on as much as possible to get things going?
Well, if you're comfortable with the paint colors, you can start with that. You can approve the landscaping anywhere other than the area in question.
With a carve out, just regarding this one issue about the retaining wall and the
Any area,
fill back along the correct non-retaining.
Before we do that, we'll be happy to do that to make it.
Very
the paint-
happy, yeah.
Are there any other people in the audience or on Zoom that have any comments? So what I'd like to do is make what is it called?
Resolution?
Motion, thank you. Make a motion to approve the change of paint colors and to approve the landscaping plan, except for this area. And then that'll be in condition of you coming back with a detailed plan that you're both happy with.
Except for anything related to the retaining wall and the
Yeah, exactly.
non-retaining wall on the, was it the north?
On the, yeah, so we'll be specific when we do the motion, but I think that's,
Can we specify in the motion exactly what area we're excluding from the landscape plan approval? Just, I'm not sure if we can refer to a plan or.
South, okay, right.
so.
Along the Nuncy property line, right.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the change in paint colors to Benjamin Moore for the Rifkin property, 97 Westlake Road, parcel number 103-1-42, to change to Benjamin, the white to change from the Benjamin Moore sailcloth to the Benjamin Moore 2126-70 Blanc Cray, and to change from the exterior signing color Nightfall to Black Iron, Benjamin Moore number 2120-20. We'd also like to approve the landscaping plan submitted on, say, March the 17th by Andrea Buckingham, sheet number L1, L2, L3, except for the area along the property line of the with the Unutis. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We unanimously approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Procedural question.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
I think that your engineer should talk to their engineer and just meet on site, maybe even not with the clients, or maybe with them.
I'm perfectly comfortable
Okay.
to resolve it. They won't give me an answer as to what they want.
Well, here's what I'm hearing from them. They definitely want the boulders on the retaining wall that we were already talking about moved in 2.5 feet.
Non-issue.
Okay, non-issue, we're doing that. And that sort of meets the ground level. But I think what I'm hearing from them is that this whole area where the arbs are, that whole area, not nearly to the Norway maple that you said is there, but what would it be, like 15 feet? It would be about 15 feet. Oh, okay, so bigger, okay. We'll call it 40 feet.
But sorry to interrupt, I think it's not our interpretation of
No,
what-
but
yeah,
he asked a question and I'm just trying to answer.
I would stake it.
Can
with-
I,
would-
hold on,
would
please?
stake it.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Okay, you asked a question, I'm trying to answer, okay, and hold that thought. So for 40 feet, I think what they want to do is take it down to whatever the level was to the greatest extent possible. You can kind of determine that, but it should be a freestanding wall. Whatever is making it a retaining wall that isn't, that hasn't been there for 50 years or whatever, needs to come
They're
down.
asking us to disturb an area that was not disturbed before.
Well, they're trying to solve a problem that they really perceived that predates you, presumably. So, I would talk to your engineer and your lawyer and have those two professionals speak to their engineer and their lawyer and then come up with a compromise. Meanwhile, we've approved everything. And when you come back with that carve out, then we can approve that. Sorry, Stephanie, you were saying.
No, I completely agree. I was just thinking it might be just very difficult to discuss it with a piece of paper in a room. I think it's a matter of going and putting some stakes in the ground, some flags,
Right.
so that they can explain what their issue is, and it's more easy to understand the implications of it.
Right. And I appreciate that. I've done that already, met with Todd twice.
Oh, you have?
And they won't give me a straight answer as to what they want. I think if it was up to them,
Mhm.
they would literally dig out that wall 5 feet from the property line. And as soon as we disturb what hasn't been disturbed in 100 years, God only knows what's in there and what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And so I feel like we're going to create more problems than we could ever potentially solve. And where I come from, water flows downhill.
Yeah.
They seem to think that it's going to flow laterally
Right.
as opposed to seeking the easiest course.
So what I would say is just let the engineers make that abundantly clear to one another and on their side to their client, if that is true. So what Stephanie says is true. It should happen on site with professionals and with either you and the unit Cs or not. I mean, whatever's
Good luck
productive.
with that. Yeah, we need to come to that compromise. Bring it back to us, and then we'll.
My apologies for you guys having to.
No. It's we want to resolve you. This is what
This is how
there's
sausage gets
misunderstandings, and this is this is when neighbors fall out, and that's what we hate to happen. That's why we have all these rules and regulations we want people to follow, so that it's anyway. So. But we're still excited. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your
Thank you,
time.
Victoria. Thank you for your patience. You're up. Genesis Real Estate Partner.
Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have the drawings and everything. I thought I just get to observe.
So, I mean, but I think, it's all, we had a delightful site visits with you. We're thrilled that you are restored this magnificent property and made it into a home again, because it's been abandoned, let's say, for over 10 years, and it wasn't a small task, and so we're glad that you were mad enough to do it.
Thank you.
Romantic enough to do.
Yes, you're right. That's the key word, romantic. Yes.
So and you've had a flavor of, it's not always like this, the bar, I think you understand that we're here to try and help and to bring ideas, share ideas, so that it's a win-win situation for you, the homeowner, for the village, and for the neighbors, so that there's everybody's happy. So that's what we're all about. So we have these a few items on the agenda. First of all, the front entrance and large front terrace changes to flooring finishes. So we discussed these at our site visits, but as this is being recorded, it'll be repetitive of saying what I think we all came up with. And so it's the front entrance is the supporting structure has shifted, has moved, so that obviously needs to be your engineer to look at that, consolidate that before any of these aesthetic changes are done. And then once that is stabilized, and once the front stone steps are safe and put back in place, and there's no more settling, then you can address the front terracing floor finishes. Ideally, as we say in our design guidelines, we like to retain as much of the original building material and restore it as opposed to replace it. And I think we're all on the same page that the original thick terracotta tiles are definitely worth saving, and to find a source to replace the ones that are cracked, and to work it out and to replace them in a way that is not a hodge. What's the word?
Hodgepodge.
A hodgepodge. Thank you. Of new and old, and everything, to source something old, because it is such a fabulous building that any restoration to it, it has to be almost, we use the reference couture as opposed to off the shelf, because it's it is very, very high bar that you have. It's a very so the front entrance, that's the same, and then it goes to the large front terrace that you're having. It's more of a problem because you have space underneath, and you have to fix the have your engineer come up with that plan, which I think you're alluding to, of making it waterproof, making sure the water flows off it perfectly, and then hopefully be able to salvage the existing floor tiles and as opposed to replacing with something new. So I think that's the point. Number A. Point B is this terrace on the second floor that which is supported by this massive stone column that has shifted slightly. So once that is consolidated, to then restore that beautiful wooden
Really?
Thank you. Railing as much as possible. Obviously, some of it's missing, so to have that wood replaced in the same style to make that safe and restructured, I think. And C, so the modifications to the fourth floor terrace parapet walls. This is because it is stunningly beautiful at the moment. You know, this crenellated parapet wall, you know, that Robin Hood would be proud of. And, but it is unsafe because of the height of the lower level, the lower part of the wall. So, and so you've come up with some suggestions of how to rectify that. And so we all had various discussions with you on the site visit. And so the first one was to, the first option was to pull the vocabulary, the architectural vocabulary that already exists in wood of the railing, and incorporate some of those elements in the vacant spaces to make it safe. And I'll turn the floor over to Rob now, because Rob had another option about metal.
Yeah, that looks very handsome. So when you were talking about that, I was assuming you were trying to recreate some of the folderol of the carving and so on. This is much simpler. Because my one worry about that had been, do you have enough room
Exactly.
to negotiate? And you don't want it to be trifling. This space is, what is it? It's about 30 inches. Is it
No, 18 by,
that? Oh,
you see that, that's
Yeah,
36, yeah.
oh, so
If you look at bigger, no, there's a elevation. You see 1.8 minus 30, minus 3 feet, those 1.2 feet.
okay, so right, so it
So
okay,
it's like 18,
18.
18, 20, 18, less than 18, yeah.
So these would be, Christopher, what, like two by fours, or what would they be? What kind of?
Because what is the legality, John, of the opening?
It has to
space?
be, it has to be continuous 3 feet. That's why the existing height of the castle was fine.
It's fine.
But the drop down sections where there's the X cross there, that's what they're infilling in between those drop down sections.
But that would be legal to have that sort of space, because I know with railings, it can't be 4 inches whole.
Correct. And you know what, I'm sorry, I didn't even think about the cross hatch. I was just looking at the height. I know typically you can't have more than a 4-inch space in
4
between the openings.
Okay.
So then did that left with the only option you suggest yesterday we saw?
Well, that was the other thing that Christopher and Christopher Boshiers, who was their
took a picture of
personal
that, yeah.
sort of
This
capacity
is a fence
suggested, which was
further down the
to
road on the
put a little bit of,
Serpentine Manor property.
so that what you're looking at there is 1900 and is iron, it's wrought iron. There is around our property, which I'm happy to show anyone, we have sort of duplicated that. We have one iron fence like that, but we had to replace a lot and add on to it. So we use cold rolled steel that self-oxidizes. So the net effect is that you can't recreate the epoxy, you know, gorgeous, like 100 years of iron oxidation, but you get, you know, 4/5 of the way there. So what we were thinking is maybe to do not the, obviously you can't have the spikes as handsome as those would be, but to do like just 2 layers of lateral steel with a bunch of little sort of,
2-inch spike up, that's what the Christopher was talking about yesterday. Instead of spike, it's like from the bar, he said 2 inch above it and 2 inch below, so it's like
so maybe not sharpened into a spike, but rounded.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, so then you still get that nice
Yeah.
punctuation.
Just same as yeah, same as this, but shorter. Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I could be happy. This looks much more doable than what I had imagined based on what you were describing. So I think either one is great. If this is a problem in terms of the code, then I probably would suggest, speaking for myself, the cold rolled steel self-oxidizing solution.
I mean, if, for example, if my thought was this, this vocabulary would be the same as the sort of Gothic-y thing here. So with those, if it was done like that, then there would be more space taken, and so you probably could get the 4-inch
Limited open.
limited
You mean
opening.
if you did some more of the carving?
Yeah, if you had more of that, you know,
Mhm.
those things there, that they could be done so that, you know, the same thing. So you have that legal thing covered, you have the same vocabulary, and you'd be able to get it done probably quicker than the metal work, because that's an artisan and he's very backed up apparently. So so there's two options there. So
What Rob was talking about yesterday, if you do this when you become so small, because this is relatively large space, when you cramp it too small, I don't know, I mean, might not
So
look
it's basically like, it's
exactly,
about that width.
Here,
yeah.
there's the color pictures up there showing it, gives you a better idea for
Mhm.
scale.
Right, it may be even more like that.
So
I
if you
think to do a
do,
mock-up of it, I mean, you know, just to have him just do, you know, with the 2x4s, whatever, just roughly, just to see visually, oh, that looks awful, that looks great. I think that's with the wood, it's easy to do. So that, I mean, that's what I'd recommend to see it, to make sure you're comfortable with or not. And then you can go with the
Or-
other option.
is everybody else comfortable with this also? Because this could be, like you said, easier to do. Maybe just find the right person to do the wrought iron or oxidize it. Because I can see this is, find a contractor to do this quickly, yeah.
Well, I mean, well, that's good because, you know, when you're looking at the house from a distance, that would disappear. So you
Yeah,
wouldn't. have
exactly,
that
yeah,
experience. Whereas
yeah.
this, you would see it and you'd think, oh, I want
Yeah.
that to be a castle.
And you don't want your eye to naturally compare the two when they're both in sight. So I kind of like that will be unique on its own and have its
Yeah.
own.
Right.
And what Christopher Gowan and I were talking about is just to be very sure to come as far in as possible. So that what reads from the street are crenellations.
See that, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. If
Close
they're
there,
more
yeah.
defined, if this is tighter in on the, what do you call this, the deck,
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe like an inch in or an inch and a half in.
And for safety reasons as well, because you don't want people sitting there and then,
Exactly, yeah.
leaning
Right.
backwards and then go, woo, there's another one.
So if you are okay, I think then I would just go ahead with this idea to, you know, make it easier, find someone who can become Emmy and all that.
And we'll see if Jody Zero is
Yeah.
traceable down right now.
Yeah.
He can be elusive. But you know, honestly, this is pretty straightforward materials and
Exactly, yeah.
And then the same thing to do, you know, in balsa wood or whatever they work with, do a mock-up, not in the steel, so that you can see it respects the 4-inch. The top, is it 2 inches, is it 1 inch, you know, just,
Exactly.
you know,
Then
to
it's
get.
arguable again, yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
and it's only in, as you say, in situ that you can, you see how it reads, and then, you know, and then we can say, bingo, this is fantastic.
So we go this way then.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's, so how the bar works, is that with things like this, then, as you saw, we have to then have the plan like this and say it was done by so-and-so, and
Mhm.
then the date and the number, and then we vote on it, and then you go ahead with, and do it. That's how we like to proceed with the bar. In the meantime, any other things that, you know, that ideas, you know, to improving the house or restoring whatever, you know, to contact John, the building inspector, and he says, yeah, that needs to go to the bar, or it's a restoration, and go ahead with it. So anything that, you know, is on your mind.
There is one item, which is I think my sister called John about that. Last year, he was kind enough to give us the permission. I mean, actually, it's one of the closing conditions when we bought property to repair that porch. So we got a permit, didn't finish for various reasons.
This is the little.
Yeah.
fishing
So
port,
you all saw that. And John's concern at the time is like maybe because.
Sorry, let me, because we have people on Zoom. So to explain what it is, so it's on the the west facing side of Paxhurst. It is a kind of a balcony that has lost its roof,
Yes.
and it's open. It has no windows, and there was a legal requirement to have it made safe and repaired. And so you had a permit to do that 18 months ago. The permit has expired, so it just needs to be brought back to us again to look at it and say, this is a restoration. These are the materials. I think you mentioned the zinc roof, and that there's no windows going in, no screens. And then, yeah, then we can approve it again and.
Exactly.
go ahead,
I just
yeah.
like to have that permit reapproved and so we can do the work
So
now
you
it's
were
a season.
thinking the raised seam steel, right, would be sort of painted.
The structure is still there. It's just that roof. Of
Right.
course, you need to, originally, John see that is the zinc type of metal. So we probably do the similar type of metal roof on top of that. And then everything, all the wood on the side is there.
Right.
Well, I think then the zinc to me sounds the best option because it's a little bit malleable and it'll age very quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas a steel roof or something brand new is going to look so new and like jarring. So
Right.
the materials to use to make sure they're in
And,
harmony.
yeah, do the
so,
zinc.
So zinc oxidizes to, what is it?
it's not so much the oxidation, it's the malleability that it's not flat.
I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
it's a
It
little
has a
bit
nice
wibbly
dense
wobbly and it has like, oh, that's, you know,
I
round
think
foot.
of zinc as being quite bright, cool metal.
It's
I could not tell what was there previously, other than the fact that it was metal, and unfortunately,
So I wouldn't
it may
want-
have had a layer or two of tar over it, you know, in its later years.
I would
It
suggest
was quite
going with-
attractive and failing.
It looked like lead to me. Is this
Right.
There may have been some flashing that might have been
the lead, right.
copper or something like that, but the material that I saw early on looked like tin, but I think it also had a coat or two of tar over it.
But I
So-
would favor something that you can paint, something that would be amenable to a painted surface so it can just be invisible. It's not a detail you want to aggrandize or dignify or really draw attention to it anyway. That's why I was thinking, you know, it's cheap, it's reliable, it's paint friendly. It would just disappear.
Sure.
If you did the raised seam steel, which is a very good,
Yeah.
and you find it, there's plenty of it around the park.
Do we have any other comments or suggestions before we open it to the floor?
Oh, yes, but you guys go first.
All good?
No,
I think we're good. Yeah.
gone through.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about the driveway. And so the idea of scouring away the ultra white, bright white and putting graded pea stone of, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 is something you're willing to do.
Yeah, we consider that. I mean, you gave me the names, I know that. And then actually Stephanie gave me, I mean, there's another area which is just, you know, the path in the garden.
Yeah.
You know, we have it open with the sort of like the foundation, but we need to fill it in with something. So if blue is what everybody like to have, but I like her idea. I'm going to put a moss on it anyway for that part, you know. So
What was the idea?
Moss.
Oh, yeah.
so
the
she
moss,
gave me-
right.
she gave
Just
me
for the
that,
garden, just for the garden.
The garden
area, not the
paths,
ground.
yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, so, and
What do you
yeah,
think go wrong with moss?
I think this is her garden,
Right.
and that
Lovely.
is what I
fine.
for that path.
It is
I
too.
would like to put that on.
I don't have any objection.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, no, that'd be lovely, yeah.
So, and then she already told me, so for that in the sunken garden area, that's what I like to continue and then finish off. That's where I left it. It is unfinished. So, but filled it up and plant this. Driveway, I just want to make sure those are not super coarse that the.
No, it should be pea stone gravel, which would be, you know, like a 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
Go smaller, but I mean, a 1/4 inch is very delicate, nice, and it has a good crunch to it.
Mhm.
But I think that's what the house kind of wants.
Right.
You could go, I hear that, you know, 100 years ago there was bluestone gravel. That tends to be a little bit sharper. So I think, you know, the pea stone gravel is a little more rounded and soft, you know, which I think based on the conversation, I think that was what was more appealing to you. And it has several different grades of color and
Right.
tone and value. So I think that would look very handsome. So that was one thing. We also talked about the air handlers, which were miraculous. I mean, it was fun to watch them in use. I mean, they are clearly very effective, brilliantly designed machines. Your intention then is to bring some kind of metal, like almost like gutter work, if I understand correctly.
The pipes, yes.
So the white pipes that are quite striking from the
Yeah,
road. It's
yeah.
quite a public spot, even though it's.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and those would receive paint to kind of
Right.
fade into
Matching the gutters, the colors of the gutter, then it's gonna
and
be,
even the
yeah.
stone, I think would be better because it's not a place where you'd have a gutter. So the more invisible that is on the lateral, the
Right.
better.
Mhm.
Like to try to mimic or approximate
Yeah.
the granite that
Yeah.
of which the house is built. So that was my second thing. And then the third thing, which I would like to bring up, just to ask you is, I think Christopher's point is well taken. I mean, this house is a work of art. It is a monument. It's also very public. And throughout the park, one of the things that keeps it, I mean, if you look at behind you at those gate posts, I don't know if those are the Sonnies or if those
I
are
believe they are.
the Sonnies, but you see they are sculptures in themselves. The stonework, the design, your house also, Victoria, has the most beautiful stonework, that serpentine retaining wall, which is unbelievably well built. It looks like it has never been touched since it was, presumably it hasn't. But also the gate posts with the large, pillow coping stones and things are magnificent. And I have to say that the addition of the lions is fighting with that. And it feels like too much to me. It almost feels like the opposite of Diana Vreeland's dictum of like, before you go out, look in the mirror and take one thing off. I feel like this is like adding one thing. And also the blue light, there's like a blue electric light.
I just changed it to yellow yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
you can change the colors?
Well, that's a small step for a minute. In a perfect world,
Yeah.
and I may be alone here, but since we're having this conversation and you have kindly come in to talk with us, I guess my feeling is something like that isn't a place where one should, the Packers sign is beautiful and it's so lovely to see the name again, and that's wonderful. But just in general, it's not a detail of the house where I would have larded on statuary, frankly, because I think the gates themselves are sculpture. So that's just my small contribution to the conversation.
And just to go back to the gutter, matching the gutter, when you talk about matching the down,
Yeah.
we in England we call them drain pipes. Here they call them downspouts.
Yeah.
You have various different styles in there. Some have been added that are cheap and nasty, and some are the beautiful ones, like that one, that copper one on the right. So, just to make sure that they get inspired by.
They have quite a few that I don't know why lying around in the property from when we bought it. We haven't bought anything new of the thing. So I think for those very visible public areas, we're probably going to use those original to the house to use that. And then maybe if we actually the downspout, we need something back, we might get something newer, but at the same time, it's going to be the same style, not the, in the.
So all these wonderful additions and looking after this property, just run it by us, and so we can share our thoughts. Say, you know what, this is much better. This has been proven. This doesn't work. Okay. So that because we're here to help. To share these ideas. And so with that said,
someone did just raise their hand too.
So we have no more questions or comments. So we'll open up to the floor. So Bunny Boy, Claudia.
Hi, everybody.
It's Claudia.
Claudia Hanlon is the neighbor.
Sorry for talking up earlier in the wrong. But anyway, I'm so happy to see Paxhurst coming back to life and having a neighbor so close and such an integral part of our carriage house, because or the other way around, we were kind of an integral part of their house at one point. And I just wanted to point out that I
sorry, Claudia, one second. Claudia is the carriage house below you. That used to be that used to be part of your estate. Yeah, Claudia Hanlon and her husband Alvin and their two children.
I thought it's the other Claudia.
No, right. Claudia. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, carry on, Claudia.
That's okay. And so anyway, I'm just delighted to see all the work that's going on, and it looks so great. And I just wanted to agree with the bar about all the comments we made just recently. So the white stones, I know that our drive or their driveway is is just a continuation of our drive. So I'm assuming that the gray pea stone will come down to the property line. And I just wanted to ask that question. And you know, delighted that it won't be the white stone. And also just if I could hear any more about the landscaping that we look out at. So our ground floor and our second floor of the house looks really, you know, at the back of the house and at the beautiful gardens that look like they're being restored. So, you know, things like the lions in the front, if they're being moved, I hope they're not being moved to the back, because there are, you know, we're looking at the same beautiful historic home and would love to see it, you know, still feeling like it blends seamlessly into the landscape as it always has.
Right. So so retaining this what we're working at, this tuxedo patina, we call it, of that it's yeah, that's what we all care about. Yeah.
Well, just to answer her question that it's not going to go all the way to her property line. It's basically going to stop by that curve. What we call that? It's more like was Melman's property. Remember, do we have the driveway that have the stone? It's going to be stopped there, and because that's when.
So what will continue?
Huh?
What will continue after that corner then? Like where the hole
basically
is?
It's going to be grass. What do we call that?
Fescue.
Fescue. Yeah, we planted fescue so that is drought and doesn't require a lot of water and then can be green for a long time. So basically, it's going to be from the curved wall, because we restored it, that historical garden, that formal garden, come all the way, ended basically by I think it's that curved wall, and then it's there. I think there's tennis place or something. Anyway, so that's the idea of that line. Everything else is basically going to be just planted with the grass, the fiscus.
Oh, fantastic!
Your property line, yeah.
And then on the slope that faces our house, that you built up with soil, or maybe you didn't build it up, but you graded it nicely. What's happening on that slope, if anything?
Can you repeat that again?
There's some
the slope that faces our house on that same corner.
It's all planted with. I mean, it's like from your view, you're gonna see all the green fescue. Actually, for that grass. And then you told me you were concerned about the water gonna flood into your property. So we actually dig a little area and then put the pipe, go straight out already. That area we're gonna slowly fill it up with those. It's stone underneath already, but we're gonna fill up something so that it's all green in that area. So you basically you see the pebble gonna come all the way towards the end of the property. The line, you know, of the garden, the formal garden line, and then ended with that curve, and then the continuous stone down is all green.
Okay. Fantastic. That's going to be very pretty.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Excellent. Any does that satisfy your questions, Claudia?
Yeah, I think so. There's some planters on the edge too that all sort of are, you know, from our front yard and from all of our ground floor and half of our upstairs bedrooms we also see, which is that beautiful walled-in garden. You'll just plant the planters, and basically the rest of it we won't really see, I would imagine. It's going to be a low slung garden in there, or what?
Low slung
will be there.
I didn't understand the question.
The question was, the garden is going to be a low slung garden, a low garden, or is it going to have sort of bushes? Is that
sculptures particularly? I'm not.
Oh, you already. Oh, okay, good. You already see it. See, that's the formal garden, and then there was a big tree. Of course, that tree died out. So this whole thing goes forward, and then you will see there's a fountain there. That fountain will be restored. That's original fountain
Amazing.
there, which is,
Lovely.
yeah. And then on the side is 3 feet circle with that, we have pebble, okay? So this is the Moses idea, gonna continue there. And then the side is all basically viscous grass.
Yeah.
It's a formal garden look.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
And it continue
yeah,
all the way to the steps up where the tree is. Right now, you have a big, you see that the we have there, like that big in the center. Around it is
Yes.
basically all just, again, just green, vegetable grass, yes.
Amazing. Okay. So nothing particularly modern sculpture, no, like the
The only
lions
modern one
or,
you saw that already is in this, towards the other part of the garden. That was modern sculpture I have. You saw
it's
it, right?
amazing. Okay, great.
It's a
Yes.
bird. It's called Donna the little bird by an artist.
It's beautiful. Well, it's also lovely that it's also, not a bright color.
Yeah, no, it's
But it
it's
melds in
rusted
beautifully. Yes.
rusted iron, yes. Yeah.
I
And
guess
then
we
that
approve of
on
rusted.
also
That's
is very is a rusted iron as well. You see that, right? That one,
really
yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
Where did that one come from? And then I'll we'll let you go.
Well, I've been searching around the
Nice.
world for something,
Yeah,
rusty.
bet.
Okay.
It looks great. It looks great. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad that I got a chance to talk to you here. We haven't
Me too.
been
It's all,
talking to
it's
each
all
other
good.
for like
Thank
a
you.
year or so. Yes.
I know.
Such a treat seeing what you've done to that house. I mean, you really.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay.
So much
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I have
Such
one
a
quick
project.
question. The lands, the I don't know whether you have a landscaping plan that you could.
They are
share.
doing that. That's why.
We'd love to see
Yeah,
that.
when they come back, and that's where they're also gonna have that plan that for those outdoor units that you were talking about, whether
The inversion.
the
unit.
inversion
Yeah,
outside.
right.
And you talk about the pipe,
Yeah.
but then Christopher also saw the unit outside, and John saw that also. So the idea, of course, that you either plant something or you build a wooden structure around it. And the engineer was thinking more like build a wooden structure, shield it. And then you gave me the idea, make it a style-wise, like matching the Tudor style building as the wooden shield, instead of just those trailers and all that. And we do need it open for the air to circulate, of course, but then the color, we could match the ballroom, this like on the side, the Tudor side of the building. Yeah.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions or comments? Do you have any other questions?
So I guess the question is that can you authorize him to give me the permit back to restore the porch? That's first thing. And the second thing is
So what we officially need is the
Set of plans.
The plans, yeah.
I mean, what's the plan you need that's already there? Just adding a roofing.
I think it has to be dated with the
stamp.
updated because the date it's expired. So it has to be
Alright.
the person that's doing it, the architect or the engineer, has to resubmit it with update the date and the signature, and then we can say we approve and vote on it, and so that's the next step.
All right. So then, what about the other two that you talk about the front entrance? Now we're not going to change the plan. We're going to restore using the.
Well, then that's repair and maintenance, isn't it?
Yes, but which item are we throwing to?
The entry
balcony or the lower
Point
level?
A, right? Front entrance.
A
and
for
left
sure.
entrance. Yeah.
A for sure.
Front entrance and large front entrance changes to flooring.
Now we don't change
No
it.
change.
If you're matching what's there, then that's repair and maintenance, and doesn't need any special permit.
So we can start do that. Okay.
Yes,
Does that require
you're going to
sign-off?
use the terracotta tile. or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Okay.
Does that require sign-off from you?
No, doesn't require.
Okay, good.
I'll probably send you an email just to document it, but
Right.
we would expect the flooring of the first floor terrace to be restored the way it was.
Yes. Yeah. The same terracotta color. Okay, that's fine.
And then the second floor terrace, Still
That's-
proposing anything?
That's the one, this
That's
one.
right above
right?
here, I know.
This one, we
Separated
need to
from the wall.
actually take it down
Mhm.
to rebuild the structure underneath because
Okay.
the wood is rotten.
The deck.
After that, we will put back all this, which become a decorative piece because the structure is secured by,
That's
yes.
also repair and maintenance.
Yeah.
So why don't you have your engineer just submit a cover letter to me
Mhm.
that you're going to be restoring the first floor patio with terracotta tile to match
Okay.
what's remaining. And you're gonna be rebuilding the deck above because it's
Yeah.
structurally questionable.
Okay,
And you're also gonna be restoring the balcony railing around it.
as it is, you know,
As it
yes,
is.
yeah, yeah.
Can you have
just
him give that to
enforce.
me in writing? And then
Okay.
I'll respond to that, that as we're discussing now, it's all repair and maintenance, and
Good,
you can proceed.
And just
Okay.
one last question, the sort of open air kitchen thing, that wouldn't fall under repair and maintenance as well if we're using essentially the same material, which is a metal with a,
There's
wooden.
a legal aspect to it. I think.
Oh, is
I
it?
think there's a
Oh, okay.
structural and legal aspect that we want that to be
Okay,
documented.
so then we just do the repair and maintenance on those two items. You can
Yeah.
get started and then.
and then the top, we now change to the metal. Do we actually need to just can we approve it or you have to
No,
have?
we need something like this saying this is what it is.
They have to
Yeah.
do another drawing with that specification,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
Well, at least
Make-
then your architect has two things to do instead of one, and that's more worth coming back.
And because it's fun being here.
And
right?
As you can
and
see.
the third part, of course, is that pathway that we have underneath of this sunken garden, yeah,
garden
yeah.
pathway.
And past going into formal garden, all
I
right,
don't have a picture of that, sir.
yeah. But, you know, because that's,
You're talking about doing that as moss is.
yes, I mean, we need to first finish the foundation and put whatever the blue stone is, that I have no objection because it's most anyway, so. Then we're gonna do most, so that the same pattern gonna be in that pathway as well as in the formal garden, that is just across, like,
Great.
yeah.
Great.
Can we do that, or
Can you add it to the site plan that they're developing?
is that have something you need to add to the site plan, or?
Well, I think the site plan, as much information as there is possible. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's kind of like, this is the master plan,
Okay.
and so that, we all know we're on the same page, and then,
Right.
and then we can see the whole picture and say, you know what? And then we can, come back with our comments, and why don't you try this instead? And you go, oh, brilliant.
Right,
It's-
right.
So, yeah, the more the better.
So the sunken garden part, should we just still leave it as it is right now, or we can actually finish at least this part before we do the other part?
I don't understand what the sunken garden part is. Is that is the piece back here?
Is this
No,
is the sunken
not
garden?
here, that, in the front,
This part,
Up here?
yeah, up there, yeah.
With the kind of winding trail.
Yeah, Wendy Trail, just basically, and everything else is just flower. I told you the white flower, California poppy and zinnia that was planted in that area.
I mean, if what you're asking is, because we're all in agreement about the replacing the white gravel and putting in the others. So I mean, normally that would be a part of your site plan, as Christopher's saying, but
Yeah.
by the same token, I don't think there's any disagreement. And no time like the present, right? And if that helps you to feel like you're making progress,
Yeah.
even as you're also putting together the more comprehensive
Yeah,
plans.
okay,
So just go ahead and take away that white gravel
Mhm.
and replace it with a gravel of your choice that's either, I guess, bluestone or pea stone gravel, quarter inch.
okay,
Then you can feel like you're making more progress.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to be negative, but what do we want to do with the pathway that is now in between your house and your neighbors? It wasn't part of the original plan. It was done with a white stone.
Oh, well, I think the white-
That's something that would require, bar approval.
The-
When
the
I
white
when I was first there,
Okay.
approximately 3 years ago,
3 years ago. I bought a property only 2 years.
all right, say 2, but the first time that I was in between the two structures,
Yeah,
a small excavator had to go between there to remove the oil tank, which was almost in the front yard.
okay,
But there was no driveway or nothing there at the time. Unfortunately, because of the excavator going through there, there was a little bit of a path.
mm,
But you've since extended the driveway, and that's something that should be on your site plan, that the bar should consider for approval.
See, this is what I was telling Diane, that basically that is actually a pathway towards that garden, the sunken garden. Now, is this, the statues already put there, so it's not a drive-through to that area. When we were doing the work, of course, at that time, we used it temporarily to set stuff up, but if you go there to see that now, I mean, I think when you were going on the top, you see that there was like that bird, little bird, like that color. So it was there. So that was never being intended as a driveway. It's more like a pathway to
Gravel pathway.
Yeah, gravel pathway to I mean, the color you don't like, yes, but it's a pathway towards that sunken garden. Plus there was a back, like I have 2 entrances on the back coming out from the old kitchen and also underneath.
I mean, I for one, if we just fix the problem of the white gravel, that would satisfy me, speaking as one member of 4.
Right.
But having that pathway, that's legitimate, or are you saying it's not?
I'm not against the pathway, but
Okay.
it really is something the bar should approve as a site plan approval.
Mhm.
You know, it's not a 36-inch path. It's considerably larger.
Well, that can be part of the master.
It affects the appearance of the property.
Ah,
And it should have your approval at some point.
So that should be part of the master plan that
When you draw
Christopher
it up,
has.
it will show you that it's there, yeah,
we can
yeah,
officially-
definitely,
And
yeah.
if you say it's this lovely magical walk to the sunken garden, then
Yeah.
yeah, if it's narrowed, if it's wide at the moment, then narrow it. So it's like the other one you saw with the substrate.
Right.
It's a lovely little path for 2 people to walk down as opposed to.
It's no big
wide
deal.
one.
I just expand the
plant.
flower plant.
Exactly,
Because
exactly.
on the 2 sides is all flower plant,
Right. Exactly.
flower field, yeah.
Yeah. That's,
But,
yeah.
yeah.
Good.
Excellent.
Add it to the plan,
Great.
move forward.
Any other
Thank
questions
you.
for us?
That's it for now.
Okay.
To see a friendly face here and helpful,
Thank you for bringing a friendly face to the
Yeah,
meeting. That
yeah.
means a lot. And we're so excited by what you've done to this. Everyone has always been fascinated by this house. It's the most romantic.
Such a beautiful house.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful to see it get new life.
Oh, one other thing with this, while you're doing all that, if you're doing the ironwork, have them design a nice railing, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
As, as we were talking about the Regners the other day, that has the portrait of Mrs. Stoddard, Mrs.
Yeah.
Hoffman.
Yeah.
Barbara's had an accident; she's broken her arm, so
Oh,
it's just so health, safety like that, because you entertain, lovely, so you want everyone to.
Okay,
So
no problem.
yeah, that would be great.
All right.
Fantastic. Well, thank
All
you.
right,
so
thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for having
much.
me here, all right? Not easy job for you guys. I can just see the neighbors sometimes.
Oh, well, that's what we try to avoid, misunderstandings with
Yeah,
neighbors.
yeah,
It's
but
just- it's
thank
just
you
tough.
for making the time for.
Poor John is, he's the messenger always, and he's the one that he's
He's
one
made
that
it turn
shot
tough.
from all sides. Bless him.
Well, I gotta say, after things sort out, he turned it around so quickly. So
Oh,
I just have to put it on the record. Thank you for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, no, it's yeah. It's
Okay, thank you guys. All right, yeah.
Take
All
care,
right.
Victoria.
Have a good night.
Good evening.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes, or
Yeah, yes, the minutes. I was just going to remind you, that's all.
do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Like,
I don't know if Bunny Boy just didn't, you want to ask Bunny Boy if she has.
Funny Boy, did you have another question?
No, thank you
Okay.
for everything.
Good night.
Have a good
Good night,
evening.
everyone.
Good night.
Desiree, you saw that the people attending, it was the Yanutzis, they're the only other people?
Yes.
Yeah, you got that,
Yes.
okay.
And I'll call John just in case there's any
Okay.
questions that I have.
Thank you.
Well, we miss seeing your pretty face here, but
Oh, thank
it's
you.
nice to know you're watching over us.
Yes, okay.
So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, close the meeting.
Seconded.
You sure you want to close it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Steve would like to extend it a little bit.
Meeting closed. Thank you.
That's what I'm saying.
7:24.
Close
Yes.
meeting.
Well run, Mr. Chairman. That was kind of a shit show.
The-
Not of your making.
No, I mean, it's
No,
just
I
like,
thought
it's
it
none
was
of our
good.
business. Just deal with it. My gosh, I mean.
But I'm glad.
John, are we recording?
I think I-